So why are we doing this? Founding a company is hard, but founding a company as a female founder is much harder. With Stealth Mode, we're creating an inclusive and supportive environment.
Many of the structures, policies, and products that were created to date have become fragile or even irrelevant. It's time now for those who are empowered to make space for diversity of thought.
And how are we going to achieve that? That's only going to be possible by accepting the most diverse range of female founders.
Factory Berlin, with access to a vast network and an ecosystem, provides underrepresented founders the environment to realize their entrepreneurial journey. It's exciting and it's urgent. We're proud to be part of this movement.
So I realized from first-hand experience that companies are shedding out millions of dollars to things that people are not even interested in using.
Generally, we wanted to enable people to become active in the stock market and be financially independent and make successful decisions.
I feel that there are a lot of people out there, especially at the times right now, that would benefit from mental health and working on their mental health, even though they might not be sick or have a diagnosed disorder.
So women in 2020 are more empowered than ever, are self-driven. Basically, they are aiming 100% independence, but then I wondered, how can women think that they are actually independent if they still receive healthcare, which is basically tailored to men, only because it's made by men?
Being a startup founder is an entirely different ballgame, and so I've had to learn a lot of new skill sets along the way, which has been a big challenge.
So I have to say the hardest thing has been to start. So I always had a lot of ideas, but to actually take the leap. So Stealth Mode came right in the nick of time.
It takes bravery to develop a concept and show it in front of real people.
So it's been one of the biggest things for me to really show my value proposition in the clearest way possible to ensure that I get the most conversions for people coming through.
I think the biggest challenge is always to build a product and a business model that is relevant to your users.
We are in a community of women. And so often, as a startup founder, you're surrounded by men.
Sharing this journey with incredible female founders. One of the most inspirational learning experiences for me on this whole journey has been from the other mentees. It's been really amazing to observe their journey and to learn from them how to stay motivated, how to stay flexible, how to cope with different stresses.
I think what I definitely underestimated before is a woman's spirit, and really lean into it and push other women to be beyond their boundaries.
We've just recently secured 2 EU grants, and so we're really ramping up our product development process, and early next year we'll be looking to launch our first version of Domi and our full product launch towards the second half of next year.
During the program, we launched our app in the Play Store and App Store.
What's next for my business? So currently we are a consulting firm, but as many people know, consulting is not scalable. And so we want to be able to offer a suite of business intelligence tools that empower founders to get the insights they need without having to call me up. I don't know that my vision can happen in the next 10, 20 years, but I would like to see a world that with actual equality.
That I would like to see a real estate industry that's more proactive in embracing new digital technology.
I see a future where companies are truly invested in enabling employees with convenience and well-being every single day.
Yeah, I hope to see a future where we are empathetic and constructively critical.
I'd like to see a world where everyone can live up to their full potential and live the life they really want without anyone telling them that they can't do certain things or it's wrong what they're doing.
Yay! Good evening, and welcome to Factory Berlin, and welcome to Stealth Mode Demo Day. It has been a tremendous year. Needless to say, for everyone across the globe, especially for us here. We launched Stealth Mode earlier this year. This is the second batch. We have 10 mentees that participated in this program, and we are tremendously proud to finish off the year and experience these great pitches this evening. We identified earlier much earlier, a year, 2 years ago, that there is a dire lack of female founders in the German ecosystem. Worldwide, but we said, let's tackle this problem here. Under 16% of companies started in Germany are started by female founders. So what better access to network, FaceTime with investors, an environment that is safe and trusting could we do than provide this as Factory Berlin. We are really, really proud that we managed to do this. We are eternally grateful for our sponsors and supporters, especially Google for Startups that helped facilitate this year, and the many mentors and workshop facilitators that were on board, giving precious time and access to their networks and resources to provide really the information, the environment, again, the intel to propel these founders. I'd like to give a special shout out to Sarah Kohler-Alonso, who managed this program beautifully all year long. And she is the one who's going to take us through this evening, first with our panel, then followed by the pitches. So I look forward to experiencing this with you, hybrid here on site and online. And Sarah, come up and thank you again.
Hi, good evening, and a big welcome also from my side. We're really proud to see what these mentees have achieved, and also today you'll get a glimpse of everything they've been able to do and been working on over the last 3 months. So before we get to hear from them, we're going to kick off with a panel discussion, and the panel is going to be when, how, and why invest. And we have some very special guests joining me. So let's see if they can come up. Hi. Hello. So to kick this off, just to say that Lina, unfortunately, has fallen sick, so she can't be with us today. But maybe if you'd like to introduce yourself, Sophie, we'll start with you. Just tell us who you are and what you do.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everyone. It's kind of scary to see myself on screen. So it's a great pleasure that I can be part of the special day today. I'm Sophie. I'm CEO and founder of a Berlin-based startup called Qunomedical. We are in the digital health space. We're basically a marketplace that helps patients from all over the world find the right doctor in over 25 different countries. We've been around for over 4 years. I personally have raised 4 different fundraising rounds. I'm actually in the middle of my 5th. I had kind of my own batch of experience with investors throughout the years, and I'm very excited to be here today.
Should I continue?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Bettine. I started my journey in venture at Axel Plug and Play after about 10 years of work experience in private equity consulting and previously as a math graduate. So kind of used to male domains, and I'm still actually with Axel Plug and Play on a part-time basis, and I've had the privilege to accompany about 80 companies on their journey to different various stages, among most famously N26. And most recently, I've been quite active as an angel with my female angel group Auxxo. We set up a female investors network, female business angels network as well. And we're really looking forward to hopefully spinning it into a fund very soon.
Very exciting as well. So the reason we've invited you, if you from an audience haven't noticed yet, we're going to be showing both sides of the coin and getting the experienced founder insights and from corporate funding, but also from a partner VC funding. So let's start right away, and we'll start with you, Sophie. So from a founder's perspective, what are some insights or tips that you can share on how to map out the right investment for you?
Well, I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, do you need external investment or not? And there are models out there you can perfectly bootstrap, or sometimes you just have to raise a small amount, or the other option is to have to go and fundraise with a larger amount with VCs. And I think that's kind of the first question that everyone needs to kind of identify for herself, to say, do I need money? And if so, how much? And that should then also guide to a certain extent who to raise from. So that's one thing. The second part also is kind of what type of industry are you in? Is that a VC case? Is that a case that you can debt fund or something else? So I think the main part is really to look at your business, look at how fast you want to grow, and what the right investment methodology would be to fit what the stage you're in. And it doesn't always have to be an either or answer. It could also be that you say, okay, I'm going to start and bootstrap for the first year, the first 2 years. And then once I get to a certain milestone, then, we might think of something else. In my case, for example, I knew that my idea would only be successful if I can scale this as fast as possible, as big as possible. So that's kind of a marketplace logic behind it. It's not fun to have a small marketplace that only 10 people use on a given month. I want thousands of people be on this marketplace and have this velocity on there. And for me, therefore, the answer was quite clear very early on that I would have to go and raise larger amounts from VCs. But at the same time, that also means that I, as a founder, will start diluting and giving up shares of my own company very soon and to a large extent.
Yeah, and Bettine, you from an investment point of view, what do you expect founders before you approach them? Like, what do you expect them to know? What kind of questions would you like them to ask you? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. Sophie covered it pretty well. So I expect the founders to understand what VC money is and what angel money is, and what I expect of the founders in a way. So that is mainly, have you thought about whether this is the right money? Because it might be debt, might be better, all the other options that are out there, because VC money is only the right money if you want to scale extremely fast. And you kind of put yourself into a game that you then have to play, and where there are very set rules of how big does the market that you're addressing have to be, and you might have to adjust your product just so you get a big enough market, how quickly you have to raise your next round, how quickly you have to grow. You have to really hit the criteria. And I expect the founders to really know all the answers on these questions. So I would really recommend to all founders to really make sure that they have thought about how they want to grow, because otherwise they can address 50 VCs and all of them are going to say no if it's quite obvious that the market isn't big enough, or that there isn't any way to grow fast enough, or if the founders aren't prepared to grow fast enough.
And I mean, you both touched on that it's also very industry specific, but especially with startups developing products using advanced technologies or AI or blockchain that usually experience a longer lead time. What should an early stage startup do to secure investment in the absence of securing first customers? What advice do you have? I'll let either of you answer that one.
So I'll start on that because I've just been looking at quite a few cases like this, and the ones that you get really excited about and other VCs get excited about and other business angels get excited about are the ones where you really know that there's an urgent need to solve a problem, and these guys are getting the best people on board, and because only that way they're going to grow the best company, and you really have to get the people excited. So especially something that's very deep tech, it's just so important that you've tapped into the networks of really the hottest people around, and you only hire the very best, and to really get a buzz going and really make people trust that you can create something very special. You also should be able to show that you have a good way to get to first product. So a good and kind of cheapish way to get to first product, or some first proof of concept, or some first interested pilot customers. So just kind of not really bootstrapping, but bootstrapping as much as you can to demonstrate that there's really a market for what you're trying to build there. So that would be my first, my most important recommendations to you.
Sophie?
Yeah, I think to just also add to this and piggyback on what Bettina just said, also choose the right investors. So if you have a deep tech product or a highly medical product, so I'm from healthcare, for example, don't go to an e-commerce investor, they won't understand that you won't have a product for a while. They won't understand how to evaluate what you are building at the moment. So I think it's really, really important if you have, a very specific product, if you have a product that that will take some development time to get to the market, speak to the people who understand that and know how to deal with that. And for that, you might also have to already in an early stage, might have to look a little bit more international than you might typically do out of Germany. So I think that's one part. And the second part, and somebody said this in the video intro, is also if it's a highly complex, highly innovative product you're building, you might also be able to look at grants and I know a couple of deep tech companies who got above €1 million to just kick off and start working on their product. And that could also be a solution, which, for example, for what I'm building, which is not a deep tech thing, grants are just not a good alternative.
Distant dream.
Yeah.
Well, let me just add to that. I think there's something super important here, which is especially when you're starting out and you're before that phase. I mean, it doesn't have to be a deep tech product, any kind of company. The most important thing when you start out is that you get and you make the decision to take external money and give away shares, is to really find the right set of angels. It's just such a powerful tool because it's amazing because they give you money and they give you free time. It's really cool. So it's just the best thing to really sit down and make a list of all the things that you need help with, and then think who are the best, most qualified people that I can approach, and ask them for advice and drop in that you need money. So because that's another really top tip is if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money. And it's just the best thing if you have this amazing group of angels that can also help further investors in their due diligence when you're just pretty much just looking for money, because they'll be like, this person, they can really competently talk about that market and they know what they're doing and they invested. It's the best stamp of approval you can get.
We'll get t-shirts printed with that message. I really like that. But actually, you touched on my next question, which is, where do we find angel investors? Sophie, how did you find them? Did you get warm intros? Was that helpful? How do you go about that?
That's kind of the king question of all questions. It's so in my experience, it's all through network, or a lot of it is through network, and it's not the case that I, for example, personally started off with a vast network already, but it's almost like a little bit of a snowball effect. You start somewhere and then you ask yourself your way through and get kind of introductions to the next one. And what I always say is you don't know who you're going to meet. So for example, I speak with everyone. I think, a 20-30 minute call is always a well-spent time. And if that only helps me to get the word out there and the name of my company out there, that's already enough. So I got an introduction through a former work colleague to one of the investors here to Project A, which is one of the early stage investors here in Berlin. And they were the first investor to invest in us. And through them, I got introductions to more investors. But also, for example, what really helped was there were a couple of times where we landed a press piece. And then all of a sudden, a few investors would inbound and see us, read about us and got interested. So there are many ways how you can, it's about drawing attention to yourself, either through putting yourself out there, or like Bettine said, like really targeting who the right people are you think you want to speak to. And people know people, and that's always the trick. Like, don't always expect that after the first call or after the first meeting or after the first talk, you have found your investor, but you got to start somewhere and you just kind of ask your way through, and you might be surprised. I think most people are very open and very willing to help.
That's great.
Yeah. I would second that, and really don't be shy. Like, if someone says, "Oh, this isn't quite for me, I don't have any money," it's like, "Oh, do you have any friends? Do you know anyone? Can you recommend anyone?" Because the truth is, most people do want to help you. Like
Yeah.
people, it's, you know, when you're in it, you think you're in the most terrible place and it's also frightening. But from the outside, it's something super inspiring and people love talking to you. People want to help you. So really ask for help.
I think I've been telling the mentees for 3 months, which is why they're laughing. I've been use the network, ask questions. So my next question is about VC investment, and maybe we can make this a one-sentence answer. How do you know that VC capital, venture capital is the right path for you? In one sentence. They're baffled by my request.
If there is no other alternative.
That's great.
And no, and your market is a lot bigger than 1 billion euros, and you want to keep raising money every year and give up a large portion of your company, and we're talking more than 50%.
Absolutely. And I think that's really something to know and understand, because the hype around getting VC and getting that funding is so large, but there's such a black hole of what else you're giving up over that. So I want to move the question a bit more to building relationship with investors, and we were just touching on the importance of network. But what do you think makes a strong pitch, and especially now a strong virtual pitch? What are your thoughts on a recorded pitch versus just a pitch deck? And maybe, Sophie, also ask you, have you done a virtual pitch recently, or have you recorded yourself recently along with your slides? What would you recommend for founders in the modern times now that we're in?
So I have pitched recently a lot of times through Zoom to a lot of people, and I must say I think it works quite well. I have not recorded myself, and I've never really, I don't know, got the idea to do that. So maybe Bettine has kind of experience in looking at this. I think a pitch lives from it being live and being able as a founder to transport your passion, your expertise, being able to answer the investor's questions and all of that. I feel like, you know, if you record something, that's probably good enough to get an intro, or the same way you would send a teaser deck to just, you know, kind of spark the interest. I'm not sure if, I don't know, for me personally, that would be the way to go.
Yeah. You have to respect that it has to fit into people's workflows, and looking at videos often doesn't fit into a workflow. So what actually has worked, thinking about video and so on, so I always want a deck. Everyone wants a deck. Just sending an email, hey, I've got a really exciting idea, let's talk, doesn't work. Send a deck. It can be a short deck, but send one. But what's really cool, I think, is if you can send auxiliary videos. If you're like, hey, look, here's my TED Talk, or look, here's someone else's TED Talk about this, or here's some content around the subject if you're interested. I think that's something really cool, but it's like totally optional to look at it, and the pitch deck is the most important thing.
Have you seen a pitch recently that really stood out to you, and why? You don't have to name names, but like, what was it about that pitch that grabbed your attention? Putting you on the spot here, I know.
No, I've got one that came to mind because I just spoke about it pretty much. It was about it's a technology thing, and she sent a super short pitch deck and referred to some videos on their website where they do very lengthy tech talks, but like 3 videos of like doing a lecture at Stanford, and like just super impressive, huge amount of detail, really not necessary. I listened to about 10 minutes of it and just like thought, this is cool. So that really, really impressed me.
And I think this is the important message to give to our audience and to our mentees as well, that the person behind the startup is just as important. So this is why my next question is also, how important are the company values when you make a decision of invest or not invest in a company? And for Sophie, what are the core messages that you always want to bring across when pitching your startup? I'll start with Sophie, this one.
Okay, so the core messages I bring across this: the market is massive. So Bettina just said, about over $1 billion. Our market is $50 billion. So you said the market is massive. It's still up for grabs to talk about, who are the players, what's your strategy to win the market, and why are you the one who is going to win the market? The investor needs to look at you and go like, okay, they are the one we're going to win the market, and not somebody else, because then they would invest in the other person. And also kind of a couple of numbers. What's your top line? What's your growth? What are your unit economics? Like, just kind of state how healthy your company is or where you stand. And last but not least, what's the vision? Where do you want to be? What's kind of the big picture behind it? And what's your path to get there?
Yeah, Bettina, from your standpoint.
Kind of depending on the stage. In the very early stage, it's really just market and team. And you really need to communicate your market and communicate why the market is exciting and why whatever twist you're applying to the market is exciting. And then just team. And you're talking about values. It's kind of aligning on values is really important, and on vision, how you want to grow and how quickly you want to grow is really critical.
So I want to open up the floor and have a few questions. I'm not sure if there's some online questions, but otherwise with the mentees, do you have any thoughts that spring to your right now? If not, I can keep going. I have endless questions to ask. That's all right. I'll do one more question because I think the background of the founder can also be quite important. Do you think someone that has a past entrepreneurial experience is gonna make them a better founder? Is that something, do you look at the track record of the founder? Or, yeah, maybe Bettina, you can answer that first.
Well, it's kind of, it's not a clear answer. So there are some people that are experienced founders that will be able to raise millions with nothing, because they're like, there's so many people that want to give these people money. But assuming none of these cases are supposed to be mentioned here, you just want to see that they have what it takes, and that they show grit, and that they show determination, and they can show grit and determination anywhere. Like, even if it's that they've shown really persistence in organizing a university event and gone further beyond, above and beyond. Working in high growth environments is really important. But also just being technically really good is fantastic. So, but I think in every team, I really like to see someone who gets high growth in some sort of way, whether it's because they worked in this environment or whether they've founded a company themselves.
Yeah. Sophie, anything to add? A quick note from your side, or?
Well, I think where you can like brag about your background without bragging about this. So for example, I'm in digital health. I used to be a medical doctor and a stem cell researcher. I worked in management consulting for McKinsey. I worked at a high growth unicorn in New York in digital health. When I joined, they were valued at 600 million. When I left, they did their round for 1.8 billion at a valuation of 1.8 billion. And that's kind of that's not my introduction, but I make sure to get this across. It's like, dude, look at me. Like, I'm the perfect candidate to do this. And I think, especially as women, we sometimes are too humble to brag about what we bring to the table. And I can only encourage everyone to do so, because you guys all kick ass.
Yeah, so let's see how much they kick ass with our next part of the program. But thank you very, very much. I have 3 ways that we can sum this up, and it's do your homework, choose the right investor for you, and build and grow your network. And that can also take a while, and that's okay. But I want to thank you both for joining us this evening, and best of luck with your funding round. Best of luck with your next steps, Bettina, and see you soon.
Thank you.
Great. So we're going to kick off with our first pitch from Elena, and she's dialing in from Italy. So we'll just do a smooth transition. Hi, how are you? Can we hear her?
Yes, now?
Great. So I'm going to excuse myself, and we're going to kick off with your pitch. Good luck.
Okay. Crowland is on the mission to help businesses automate their work with computer vision. But what does that actually mean? Meet Aline. He's the owner of a medium-sized store. His biggest problem? A lot of incidents are happening in his store. From shelves that are not restocked in time and reduce his sales, to fraud events that can increase his costs. Like all stores, Aline has video cameras, a source of data, but not of actual insights. With Crowland, Aline can easily have access to all the events that happen in the store, from empty shelves to suspect disappearing of products. Now he can quickly take actions to solve the problem. Aline was able to get these results with the video camera infrastructure that he already had. After a quick setup of the Crowland's hardware, the power of deep learning is at his fingertips. Aline may seem ideal, but he's a real person. He's our actual partner from Timișoara, Romania. There are a lot of Aline out there that need to optimize the processes in their stores. 70% of the time of a shop assistant is spent on replenishment tasks. Moreover, a McKinsey study has shown that optimizing the in-store operation is the #1 opportunity for increase of revenue for brick-and-mortar stores. We are entering a big market. Most of the grocery shopping happens offline, and even in order to make a transition to online, the current shops are in need of tools to optimize their processes. For this, we bring Crowland. We have an end-to-end solution that has a customer-centric design and focuses on privacy and security. How it works? First, we identify the key needs of your business. Then, we install the hardware and make it work with your camera infrastructure. The entire setup takes only a couple of hours. After that, we calibrate our models on your data in order to make sure that we have the best possible predictions. At the end, you can check the results from mobile or computer. The hardware represents computing units where we are running our algorithms on the video data. Why do we use it? First, for security. The video data does not have to leave the shop. Secondly, we can provide real-time predictions, so no data is lost and there's no latency due to internet connections. And third, for cost reductions, because cloud is actually more expensive for long-term, and especially when we are scaling with a number of cameras. And maybe you thought, and yes, we are GDPR compliant. Video data stays on premise. There's no processing of the personal data, so the video stream is not connected to any kind of personal information, and we use encryption both on premise and on what would go in cloud. Crowland started as a passion project because we wanted to bring research to solve real problems. With a strong engineering team, we started in 2018 at Innovation Labs, a university pre-accelerator in Romania, while we were all still doing our bachelor studies. Then, during our masters, we continued developing the solution and conducted some pilot projects. In 2020, I entered Stealth Mode, an absolutely amazing program and the reason why I'm today here on this virtual stage. Also in 2020, coronavirus happened. This year, everything turned upside down due to the pandemic. Employee safety becomes the #1 priority of businesses, and everybody had to comply to new regulations. We wanted to make a solution to help those businesses make workplace more safe. We've updated our software solution and added a new use case, so we can detect when the safety distance is kept or not. We detect if the people are wearing face masks or not, and based on this, we can create custom alerts and reports so that the problem can be solved right away. This is the awesome team that was able to engineer and do everything and adapt fast to the customer needs and the current times. We all met at Polytechnica University of Bucharest, but also studied in other places, such as TU Berlin. We're all very young, but already have a lot of work experience. We are looking for mentors, partners, and clients to support us in our mission for automation with computer vision. If you're none of those, but you're still interested in seeing how AI can change things for the good, you can scan the QR code and contact me. I'm always up for a digital coffee. And that's it.
Great, thank you. We're going to go back to the panelists who will be asking you a few questions. We just need a smooth check transition here. Hi, great. Sophie, Bettine, do you have any questions for Elena? Any feedback that you'd like to give?
Yeah, I've got a question. So I think your bricks and mortar retail case is really nice, and I think it's a really good kind of route to market. What's your dream use case? Your absolute moonshot use case?
Yes, so actually I thought about what's our North Star, because we really focus on technology, but during the program we try to focus more on the industry and the customer. And the North Star will be really optimizing all the inefficiencies that happen right now. And in retail, there are a lot. So this is why we focused in retail, and especially in the offline part of the retail. And the dream would be maybe having something like the online retail, super optimized for you, but having it in offline. I think that would be for us, having everything optimized in the retail and having an almost autonomous retail. The dream would be having that, but I still think that AI is it's also there to enhance the people, not only to completely replace them.
Sophie, any questions from you?
Yeah, so thanks so much. I'm not a technical person, so I think my question is when listening to you is, and maybe also kind of what Bettine was saying is like, what other use cases are there, and why do you start with retail? Like, what's the rationale behind starting with retail and not going into, I don't know, like production B2B or something like this, because that's a big market as well. And I feel like I'm lacking the explanation to say, I don't know, that's the best, I don't know, lowest barrier to entry, or this is the largest market, or this is where the largest blank spot for innovation is, or something like this. And I feel like that's the, for somebody who hears that for the first time and hasn't thought about this technology, it's just hard to grasp on why brick and mortar and not something else.
Yes. So I think my answer would be network, actually. So in the first program that we were at, we like one of the partners was a big retail chain, and therefore this is how we really went closer to the user case, and we realized how big this market can be and how good we can apply this technology for retail. And we started for this, and having this very good customer interaction, we realized that we can solve this problem. So it started with network, finding better the problem, and also realizing that it's a big market potential. I think the same type of technology can be across many different industries. But I think especially at the beginning for a startup, it's important to understand well one customer and one industry. So therefore we decided to go with this, at least also for the length of this program, when we really try to focus on one industry and not be all over the place.
Great. Well, thank you, Elena. Thank you to our panelists. They'll disappear again mysteriously. But we'll move on to the next pitch. Bye, Elena. Bye, Sophie. Great. Next we'll have Leonie, which will be another online dial-in from Spain this time. Let's get her up. Hi.
Hi there.
Great. Well, your 5 minutes starts now.
Oh my God. All right. Yeah, thanks for being here and supporting female founders. I'm so grateful to be part of this program. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So today I want to talk with you about mental health and how Menta is actually going to improve mental health for a lot of people. But first, I want to tell you why we both decided to grow this company. Victoria, my co-founder, and I, we are both psychologists who went into business. Victoria started her own successful company, and I worked for a couple of tech companies in business development and operations. The last company I worked for, I started to digitize coaching and therapy and just wanted to try a session by myself. Well, I ended up doing an entire psychotherapy for 1.5 years. Even though I wouldn't be considered as sick or something, I had my topics I could work on. And I think a lot of people can probably relate, maybe even you, that sometimes, for example, you lay in bed at night and you worry about stuff you did or about stuff that you should have done, especially in Corona times, like about your future with Corona or whatever. So for me, it was like there was a dirty window and someone had cleaned it and I could see my life through it again in full clarity and all the light could get in. And this is why we want to make mental health self-care as much as a lifestyle as personal beauty or sports routines. We want to do that by creating a category-defining mental health platform that brings scalable content such as videos, podcasts, or even text from mental health professionals to consumers by combining access, affordability, and personalization. So it's a really, really big problem. In Germany alone, 37% of young people, which is 8 million people, are affected by mental health issues. And 19% of them only are using traditional mental health services. 22% roughly are using some kind of apps such as Headspace or Calm, and 59% are not getting any health services for mental health at all now. But why is that? Well, apps sometimes feel a little bit repetitive, and people don't have a personal connection to them. And we know that the personal relationship is the most important factor for behavioral change. The apps also often focus on pretty low threshold methods such as meditation, so that some people feel that it's not enough and turn away completely. At the other hand, therapy is very difficult to get. It's stigmatized, there are crazy long waiting times for up to 6 months, and it's super expensive if you decide to pay for it out of your own pocket. At the other hand, they are the independent mental health providers. So some of them already started to go online, but when they publish stuff on Instagram and Facebook, they don't get paid for it at all. The live classes and the one-on-ones can't be scaled because they only get out what they invest in time before. And also the audience changes. So 3 out of 4 young people would actually like to consume online resources and self-learning resources before they would even consider a coaching or a therapy session. But most of the providers don't have the resources in tech or in marketing to access this target group. That's why we create a marketplace network, so that user can get content from creator that is matched to them through AI, and they discover and follow the creators they like, but also the topics that are relevant to them. They will receive personalized plans and work on stuff that's really meaningful. At the other hand, the creator can share insights with each other and create the courses and content that people really want, and of course get new audience. This is Sharina, one of our certified mental health providers. She's a psychologist and she produced content with us about worrying, self-esteem, and anxiety. In her courses, people learn more about how the mind works, what they can do to feel better, and if they got any questions, Sharina's going to answer to them on a Q&A session. So it feels very personal to them. Compared to others, we offer very high quality content from individual creators that is personalized to the people so that they see only content that's really meaningful and that is relevant to them each day. We start our market entry with a business model where we monetize the reach of the creator with a lifestyle B2C model, and people pay €29 per course. But once we got enough content and a more sophisticated technical solution, we are going to switch to membership model where user can use the platform for mental health content for €14 per month. But now we just released our first content in November and are going to acquire the first customer in December to then start the production of more content and develop the IT infrastructure behind, and are going to raise a pre-seed round in February. So thanks a lot for listening. I'm very looking forward to discuss with you about opportunities in mental health. And if you're interested in the course, we run a special offer right now where it's only for €9.90 instead of 29. So it's your chance if you want to reduce your worries in the Corona times. Thanks again.
Thank you, Leonie. So we'll bring back the panelists. Hi. Do you have any questions or feedback for Leonie?
Yes, I do. So on this, there's been lots of companies fundraising in this space. Like, what is like the easy way? And this is also a kind of a feedback, because I love the mental health space, and I think it's so important. Like, I think it's one of the most important subjects that we have right now in society. But it's you should come to kind of the key competitive differentiator faster and more precisely. So I would ask you exactly that. Like, what is exactly the one thing that you're doing different, that you're doing better, that why would I invest in you guys?
So we are trying to solve two different things. So first of all, there's this really huge group of people that don't know that actually mental health work would benefit for them. So that's why we use influencers and personalities that people can relate to, they can connect with. And this is the second thing, because for the digital solutions out there, often so I have seen so many of them, they're very generic, they're nice for the first couple of days, but people will just churn away, because after a couple of days or weeks, it feels very repetitive and it's not very personal. So we try to replicate this personal interaction and relationship you would have with your coach or with your therapist through this creator relationship you get. So that's why we're different. I've not seen this in the market in the way we do it.
So it's more about like getting there really early before someone gets sick, kind of as a kind of, I guess, a lifestyle. You did say that.
Yeah, it should be fun to work with us.
Okay. And do I get like a test in the beginning to see what my kind of things are, my issues, or?
Well, right now we just start with the content. So we try to prove our hypothesis that people they really want the content from this certain person, and we convert them like that. But the idea behind is that people are going to be onboarded later with a test. The technicals, so we want to build a machine learning system behind that, so that we see when they would consume which kind of content. They get suggestions based on the time they dial in, or even based on their calendar. So that, because that's, I think, one of the weaknesses right now when I start with Headspace, a course about self-love. Maybe that's relevant for me for the next 2 days, but in a week, I might have some issues at work, so I need some different kind of content, you know what I mean? So that's how we try to really give you the content that's really relevant at this day.
Leonie, before we move to Sophie's question, would you mind stop sharing your screen, and then we can see you in your full glory?
All right.
Sophie, go ahead.
I actually have two questions, and you touched upon this just now as well. So I think it's highly interesting, but you also said, a lot of people don't know that they need it. So how do you reach those people? How are you going to market to these people and explain to them they need it in a large enough fashion so that you can grow?
Mm-hmm. So we try to reach them with a pain. So what we do right now, we try to communicate the pain points. So we don't say, oh, you need a course for worries, but we go to the pain points. So, okay, you have these repetitive thoughts at night, you can't sleep, maybe you feel very insecure about the future. And so right now we do funnels with them where they get a lot of information about over a longer period of time. And we have some tests they can do to get into our email sequence. But we also have the creator who actually have a really big audience, and people follow them because they share a lot of content, which is very low threshold, and maybe just about, hey, how can you be more grateful for what you got in your life? But then, so for them, usually people follow them for more than 3 months until they convert. So it's quite a long lead time. But once you got them, they're quite, they stick to it.
All right, thanks. And a second quick question, and that's maybe because I've also looked at that space and I come from science, but what I'm always looking for also in terms of, why is what you're doing better than anything else? And I think what will help in the future, I understand that, you're early on, you might not have the data, is some sort of evidence or data that you can put behind that and say, we've piloted this for 3 months and I don't know, this is the competitive advantage, and we can actually measure this somehow. So that would just be my little piece of feedback.
And equally, to connect to that, also some data on how important it is to get to the problems early. So because I think it's a very nice and it's nice and fluffy to say it's lifestyle. But it's important still. It's still really, and it's still science. And so I think you would do really well in making it a bit more sciencey and to the point and a little less lifestyle.
All right, yeah.
Really good advice. Thank you, Leonie. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Tina. This is going to be repetitive throughout the whole night, but bye. All right, next up we have Lex, who's dialing in from the US, I think. Hi,
Can you
Lex.
guys hear me okay?
Good morning.
Hey. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Oh,
All
wait,
right, tell
just
me-
exit because we see your. There we go.
Yeah, got
Great.
you.
Your 5 minutes starts now.
Excellent. So, hey, I'm Lex. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Modality Group. So, if you're a CEO looking to launch a new product in a new market, you're going to want to know at least 3 things, right? Which market are you going into? What's the target demographic? And what is the value of the market opportunity? But for CEOs in the sex and wellness space, these are 3 questions that are very difficult for them to answer. And this is primarily because access to data and research is very hard to come by. And there are 3 reasons this is. The first reason is because people lie. So if I asked you right now, how often do you masturbate? You're probably going to smack me in the face. And as a result of responses like this, it's very hard to have, to understand the true customer pain points and to get accurate data from your customers. The second reason that data is hard to come by in this space is because the data as it is now currently lives in silos. So if you look at the whole value chain, you have the manufacturer data living with the manufacturers, the retail data living with the retailers, and there's no communication between the two. So as a result, you don't get a real overview of what the industry looks like. The third reason is because the industry is fairly taboo. And so what this means is that it historically has lived in the shadows. And if you're looking to buy these products and you're going to take what you can get a little bit instead of getting exactly what you need and what fits your points. So this is kind of how Modality got started, to become a hub for all the sex tech data and research, but also to shine a little bit more light and build transparency across the industry. But I just outlined some really tough challenges, right? So how are we going to do this right now? Why now? Why is now the time to do that? Well, to be honest, the landscape is changing. So ever since 50 Shades of Grey came out, you're really seeing a lot more willingness to discuss sexuality in public places. And this has led to the rise of many feminist vibrator offerings, feminist product offerings, focused more on empowerment. And sexuality has shifted more from pleasure to wellness and become more of a health issue than just a pleasure issue, or seeing it more holistically. And this has led the industry to professionalize. So people like me can enter to give insights. So how am I approaching this $29 billion industry? Well, we're starting with 2 solutions. The first is that we're offering advisory and consulting. So let's say you are a strap-on company looking to understand the LGBT community's use case for your product and how you can innovate in that space. What we would do is conduct the primary market research for you, analyze the insights, and deliver you a custom solution for your issue. But we also understand that consulting is not the most sustainable thing or most scalable thing, excuse me. And so we've been working on a business intelligence platform that works in kind of a SaaS model with a tiered subscription. Right now, we've built our minimum viable product in Airtable and have built out, I think, around 5,000 data points. So we started with consulting because we wanted to build credibility and also get some kind of like a proof of concept. But we hope to shift those insights into our platform to roll out in the new year. To date, we've received around $70,000 worth of requests for proposals, and we're currently in talks with a multinational consumer goods company based in Germany. Our team is really experienced. We've gone to some of the best universities in the world and have worked in consulting, manufacturing, and e-commerce. So as an intelligence platform, what we're looking is for more intelligence. So if you are an advisor who has experience with building data partnerships or some kind of these relationships with retailers to broker data, we would love to hear from you. And you can do that by emailing us at hello@modalitygroup.co. So I'm Lex Gillen, CEO and co-founder of Modality Group. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lex. Any questions?
I'll let Bettina start again, just out of tradition now.
So my first angel investment is a sex topic, and I'm a big fan of it because I think it's so closely linked to mental health, and it's just a really important part of life that's really sad if it's not talked about, and it becomes a huge issue. So I think it's a really, really important topic, and there is such a dearth of data in it. It's a total tragedy. And I think the best founders in the area are completely dedicated to data because it's just the first thing they stumble across, that there just simply isn't any data. So obviously, so yeah, props to you. I think it's super cool what you're doing, and I can imagine people just being so prepared to collaborate, to share data, and all that. So I think that's great. It's definitely not a VC case as you're setting it up right now. It's a consulting case. So that's kind of, I mean, Sophie in the beginning was talking about, is this a VC case? So anything that's kind of a consulting business generally, or an agency type business, usually isn't a VC case. But I think something that in my, can I spin this into a VC case mind, would be the question: what is this if you made it really, really big beyond a consulting kind of gig? What is the core of it? Is it kind of collecting hard to get everyday data?
I can jump in right there if that's okay. Yeah. So our bigger vision is to actually create a model that uses proxies to predict which communities would be more willing to buy certain ideas. So we want to create, it's 3-tiered right now. So right now we started with consulting because it's easy. We have experience and we have network. So jump in, get some money, get started. Ultimately, like I said, we want to have an insights platform. So that's level 2. And then we want to have a research arm. So eventually we want to have academic papers coming out. We want to have partnerships with universities. We want to have a little bit more legitimacy and really standards driven. And then ultimately we want to have a governance arm, right? So we want to be able to influence how different countries set regulations for sex products. Right now there is an ISO standard that exists. I think it needs work, but that's a future state. So I really want to kind of build an empire around sex research and make it a kind of real academic discipline.
Sophie.
Cool. So thank you. I think it's super, super relevant and highly interesting. And I think, I really loved how you started your pitch. I think you can make it even stronger by appealing to probably kind of the personal kind of reaction to anyone who listens to you for the first time. And so I thought, one powerful thing is always start with with a personal story, but not super personal, but how did you end up doing this, right? Why is that, something like this maybe, or something like the sex industry is that big. I don't know how many billion, trillion dollars, but nobody talks about it. And why? Because there is a lack of data. I think, pick the listener up somewhere and bring them to where you are, because you have been clearly thinking about this for years probably, and somebody like me understands this is interesting, this is huge, this is highly relevant at the moment, but bring me closer to where you are. And I think then it can become really, really powerful. Or something like, when you look at the sex industry, it's one size fits all. We produce things for guys and girls, but there are so many more different people who are looking for so many different more products, but nobody knows how and why. Like, describe this in a more tangible way, because it's something that, we deal with on a personal level every day, but nobody talks about it. So I think that's really really would make it stronger. And the question I have is, and that also comes from somebody who hears this for the first time, is like, I think it would be really cool to have a use case in there to say, hey, this is with the data that we just collected, we were able to prove this and that, and this company who bought this data from us were able to, I don't know, do this or that with it. And I think this is when the people go like, now I understand.
Exactly.
This is what you do. So, yeah.
No, beautiful points. Yeah, I mean, the honest answer to how I started, that has no relationship to my current company. So it's just like, okay, maybe over a coffee or a beer, right? But I definitely do think that your point about starting kind of closer or giving more context makes a lot of sense. I spend all day thinking about sex, so it's kind of hard to really remove yourself. It's like, okay, well, people don't actually know what you're talking about and how you got into this space. So to give you full disclosure, it took us about a year to actually make the connections that it took to get our clients, right? So we spent a year before we even registered just talking to people. I think I talked to maybe like 500 people, and I was just having a coffee over the internet every week, every day, like just trying to connect with people until we got sponsorship. So now we have like 2 proper clients. We're doing primary research, we're doing stuff, and we're in talks with a big company now. I think we'll have use cases soon, end of the year, definitely. But right now we're in the middle of stuff, so we don't know exactly how things impacted yet. But I definitely think in the future, I will be smacking them all in the front so that everyone can understand how it works.
A lot of smacking around in your presentation.
The best way to kill a taboo is data, by the way.
Hey, Lex, I've got a connection for you. What about your name? Lex, sex. There you go.
Hey.
Done.
Stretch.
Stretch.
A little bit of a stretch.
All right. Well, thanks for dialing in early in the morning.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me.
And now we'll have our first offline, well, online for you, but offline for us. Aditi, come on up. Just wait. Yeah, just go.
Yeah.
Great. 5 minutes starts now.
I am Aditi, a 33-year-old woman who grew up in India. The first time I went to a gynecologist was when I was 27 years old. And just like you, the doctor thought, you are super lazy. But I told her, do you know that 25% of global cervical cancer cases happen in India? But only 35% of urban women have ever been screened for it. Clearly, sometimes our system and we ourselves fail to do what is best for us. But this is not just my story. Let me take you on a little journey. Imagine that you live in an Indian city. You're 45 to 25 years old, have a super busy life with your smartphone buzzing all the time. You most likely take care of your young child and your elderly parents, and you pay out of pocket for your preventive care because most health insurances in India do not cover it. It is exactly you we want to help in achieving your goal of preventing your family from falling sick. The first step in doing this is getting access to the routine checks. And in a highly private healthcare market of India, the user is faced with 2 extreme choices. On one hand, you have hospitals which overtest and provide really expensive packages. And on the other hand, you have diagnostic labs which provide packages with only blood tests, clearly which is not comprehensive. There are also a lot of innovative apps in this space, and they either have their own labs or they partner with labs. So the bottom line is that there is no non-provider which aggregates all of this. And why do I care so much about this? Because providers always have an incentive to push their testing. And this creates three problems for the users. First, they face medically over or under testing. Second, if they choose the hospital, it is super expensive. And all of this basically creates a lack of transparency and trust. So I decided to use my PhD in economics and all the data and behavioral science I have learned to create a scalable solution. Preventable. Say hi to India's personalized health companion that ensures perfect preventive health. It does this in three ways. First, the health aggregator, which creates a personalized plan. This plan is created by aggregating information both from health as well as market sources, and it creates a plan that is medically appropriate, affordable, and transparent. Over the last few months, we have been doing a lot of in-depth interviews, over 35. And one common pain point was, it is a lot to manage all of this. So we have created a family health home, which centralizes and prioritizes all your family members' health checkups in one place. You say, great, amazing information and management, but fortunately, all of us are humans. We know we have to go to the dentist, we should do our monthly breast self-examination, but very often we do not. Say hi to GV and Jiva. They are your personal health companions who nudge you in the right time with the right information, which is key in this world of over-information. So GV and Jiva means life in Sanskrit, and how will they come to life in the future? They consume a lot of public health data, they read a lot of research papers on risk factors, and combine this with user data to create smart risk models. Because we are a very consumer-focused company, we will start with the B2C business model, which has two revenue streams of subscriptions and lead generation. We have already started testing willingness to pay by direct sales of our app on WhatsApp. And then we hope to add B2B2C revenue streams as well. The Indian market for smartphone owners, if we are very, very conservative and only use the income stream of subscription, is worth 6 billion. Our target group of at least 1.5 billion, and again, very conservatively, in the short run, we can easily make 1.5 million. So the market opportunity is there, and the market is very exciting with a lot of regulatory changes. Going forward, in April next year, we want to launch our MVP and get our initial B2C traction, and then hopefully in a year, grow to B2B2C. I would like to have any introductions to healthcare experts in Germany or in India. That will be immensely useful for us as we go forward and create Preventable. Say hi to everyone's personalized health companion, because it is not just Indians, but all of us who could do with a little bit of GV and Jiva in our life. Thank you.
Wait, stay on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, any questions? You can come closer to me as well. Just 1.5. Here we go. I think it's Bettine first. She's decided. Yeah. Or do you want to start because it's health? Got you enthusiastic.
I can start. I don't want to put you on the spot all the time. So I think health prevention is always the big thing that everyone is trying to solve in every healthcare system, no matter who. Because if you can solve this, everyone is going to be healthier, and healthcare in the healthcare systems are going to be more efficient and at lower cost. So my question to you is: so I think everything makes sense, right? But the 15 euros per month subscription.
It's per year.
Oh, per year. Okay, so it would be €1 per month. So you might want to think about something like it's €1 per month rather than something like this. But also here again, in my experience, also not in the Indian market, I have to admit, but in the German market, also in the US market, every time when it's a B2C product, every time when somebody has to pay something out of pocket, also, even though it might be for their health, you always have this really super high barrier where people actually are willing to pay. And that's why there are hardly ever any true B2C products that work really well in digital health, because people know they should, as you said, people know that they should do it, but they are not. So what's your, what's your thinking about how do you get people to pay, and how do you, get people to actually stick to that so that you also have this higher recurrence rate of users?
Yeah, I mean, great question and fair point that getting users to pay for anything is tough, especially preventive health. Yeah, so I mean, we're going to do maybe two things. So one is that it's sold, that's why, as an annual thing. So kind of you commit to it and it's a very low fee. And in a way, it centralizes all your health. So you most probably become dependent on it. So the point is, in India, people are already getting these packages and paying money for it. And we've just priced it as like 5% of it, so to say, And that's why I mentioned in the longer run, we want to have partnerships with businesses and of course insurances to help with the nudging towards preventive health, or corporates which already have well-being programs. Yeah, so I agree with you. Yeah.
So that's actually a very interesting piece of information to say, hey, there are already competitors on the market. They charge so much more, but they do so much less. And what we are doing is so much more. And, like some rationale on why you think this is going to work, perhaps, could strengthen what you're saying.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I think also from my side, so I would like to see two things, and maybe you can answer them quickly, is kind of, can you quantify the impact that this has? So how much, I don't know what the right figures are, but I'm sure you set yourself some sort of numbers on saying, we really feel like this is working if we get so many more people to do their checkups, or just like quantifiable measures of, that your goal is being achieved. And the other thing is competition.
I mean, I'll answer the competition first because that's easier. As I said, so there are a lot of apps which exist in preventive care also, but they're usually providing booking or marketplaces, right? So this is slightly different than that. It's one step before the booking that actually, because there's such an information vacuum in India in a way. So I think, so in a way, we can become businesses that help those other apps, frankly. And for your impact question, great question. I'm going to quantify that more. I think if you were asking impact of doing these preventive checks, that'll be very easy to find, if that was the question. Or the question was... Now,
what are my question is, what are your key things that you want to measure? Okay. And that you say, like, we've cracked this and we're doing super well if we achieve the following things.
Exactly. So great question. So on 1st of January, we'll be launching on our website like a thing where people can enter their basic information and get the checks for themselves, and a whole plan for the year. And I think that is our go-to KPI in the short run to really see the validation. Okay. And I'll think of more and talk to you later.
Great, networking at its best right here. If you can just pass on the mic, we're just doing a...
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome, thank you. Bye. Next up is Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma, and I will be representing Leeway tonight. So, most people think that they have to make a choice between making money or making a difference in the world. And my mission tonight is to show you that you can have both, and also to show you that Leeway will help you with that. We empower private investors to make better decisions. And better means successful, sustainable, and more simple than ever before. The thing is, to make this kind of decision, you need clear and objective data. And if we look at the market right now, it's extremely cluttered, and information is even contradicting. That leads to problems like, I don't even know where to start. I have to use 5 or 6 different sources to make one decision, or I really don't know which source to trust. We are solving this problem with a very clear interface that only provides objective, reliable information. By that, we empower you to buy the right stock at the right time. This means we include a company's finances, sustainability, and also market timing, so we can tell you when to buy, hold, or sell a stock. How do we do that? Basically, we collect large amounts of data, apply statistic evaluation, and recognize patterns in that data, and then we validate the results, and this is basically where the machine learning comes in. What you get is a current, up-to-date analysis of over 25,000 stocks and the context of the market around it. And it works. Our sample portfolio is performing at 18% right now, which is a lot more than the average of 5% that the investor gets usually. Also, we help you to have a greater impact when it comes to sustainability. We're saying 27 times bigger than a sustainably optimized lifestyle. If we look at the opportunity, we are now targeting with our subscription model, the German market, where 4.9 million users lead up to an overall total available market of 1.12 billion a year. And that's only B2C, remember that. Also, we see a big opportunity for scaling the product on a global scale. The US market is extremely big because of its very strong trading culture. What have we done so far? We are live. All of our functions are working. We have about 200 subscribers already. We have collected about 210,000 euros of equity-free funding, and we are cooperating with a research house for financial research and building a research hub that is digitalizing and automizing financial research at this point. What's up next? You can build with us. Because we're trying to build our B2C traction. We're also looking for further cooperations with investment funds, online brokers, and research houses. And we're trying to get funding for marketing, product development, and for growing our team. Talking about team, this is us. I think our greatest strength at this point is that we're so diverse when it comes to our experience. So we have basically decades of experience in the stock market. We have experience in politics and education, and also in marketing and applied management. Just to get back to my point from the beginning. Leeway empowers you to make better decisions today. So trust me when I tell you, take a picture of my email address and reach out to me later, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
Ladies, who wants to go first?
I can go first. So just for my comprehension,
yes,
because it's very fast and it's getting late in the evening. So you do just basically recommendation on stocks based on predicted performance and whether they're clean or not.
So yeah, as I said, we gather a lot of data about the company's finances and about the company's sustainability. And what we do is provide the simple score. So each company has an individual site, if you will. And there you can see if the company, just based on the scoring system, is healthy in a financial way, and also when it comes to the sustainability. What we also do, which comes closest to the recommendation that you mentioned, is that we have a fundamental ranker. So that means you can basically choose the segment that you want to invest in, market you want to invest in, if you care more about returns, or for example, more about the safety of a stock or the sustainability of a stock, and we'll rank all those 25,000 companies, and you can basically, for example, pick your 10 top scorers to start building a diversified portfolio. Yes.
All right, so I have a couple of comments and questions as well. So I think it's super interesting. I mean, I personally, I also, try to invest my money smartly. But in the end, I think for almost every kind of financial investor, performance is still key. And I think it's really strong that you've shown that, since February 2020, you're outperforming something. I think it could be even stronger if you would even back this up with more data on the financial performance. Be it simulating your logic into the past and said, if we would have applied this 12 months ago or 18 months ago, this is where our portfolio would be. Comparing this with some indexes and say, like we are outperforming the S&P or the Dow Jones or whatever you want to pick to compare and things like these. I think that those are just like small things, but just make it so much stronger to say, hey, it's not just you doing good, but by picking the right companies or those companies are also outperforming the traditional investment strategies. So like bring this point perhaps a little bit stronger than it was, because I think it's very compelling. And then one thought that I just had was, this sounds like a product for people who have money, right? Like for people who actually have the money to invest. And I wonder if there might be in the future be a spin on, bringing this also to kind of the normal person who has 100, 200, 500 euros per month to set aside and make a product out of this as well.
Mm-hmm. So basically, this is one of the myths that we're addressing a lot of Thank you, first of all, for the feedback, because we're always trying to be very careful with our performances, of course, because the whole finance market is extremely heavy on restricting you with giving any promises about performances. So even in a pitch, I'm like, I will not promise anything. Second of all, we're doing a lot of educative work with our platform as well, so publishing a lot of content around that. One of the myths that is around and that we're basically trying to bust is that you need to have a lot of money to invest in stocks. Of course, if you want, you should have a somehow diversified portfolio. That means you should have some money to spread a little bit through different segments and markets. But you don't need that much money to get started investing in stocks. And what people often forget is also that you can invest in ETFs and then also invest some parts in stocks and really diversify across different options for investing. I'm using the product and I've been a student a year ago. So this is really a product for everyone who has interest in the stock market and has fun getting informed and getting into the whole thing.
Cool. Just one more piece of feedback.
Yes,
I think what would be really interesting to have in the pitch and would maybe help me in understanding as well is how it really, because there's so many fintech companies around right now, and they do so many clean fintech things, to really understand how your product, and I don't know that we have time to answer this question, fits into my personal investing experience. So, because as far as I understand, you don't manage it, you don't manage the process, you just give the information. So it would be really nice to know how it's integrated in my using of other products I use.
Okay, but we don't have the time. You're walking on stage, I'm seeing I have to leave.
Address the subject.
But yeah, thank you for that feedback as well.
Yeah,
thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Sorry to cut it off there. But next up we have Daphne. Just making her way up stage.
Hi.
Good luck, and your 5 minutes starts now.
Thank you. Hi everyone. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Daphne, and I identify myself as a lifelong learner. I started playing the piano when I was 5 years old, and that was my almost career path. Here's how my actual career path looks like. I started working in consulting, I moved to Barcelona to do my MBA, and then I moved to join the startup scene here in Berlin. And as I advanced in my career, the feedback I received started to sound a little bit like, to be more authentic, just be yourself. But what does this really mean? I was frustrated because I wanted to learn these skills, but I didn't know how. Where do I begin? How do I apply? How do I practice? To continue my professional path, I became a full-time founder early this year. Important skills to become a founder are skills such as decision-making, communication, adaptability, resilience. These are commonly known as soft skills, and they're all interpersonal skills and behavioral traits that enable us to thrive. And I'm also sure that not only the founders, but all professionals in the audience will identify these skills to be power skills. The tricky thing, though, is that they require lifelong learning, and they cannot be developed with a one-day workshop. And this is why learning at work is so important. Let's see how learning at work makes a difference for companies too. It helps them attract and retain talent, build their employer brand, create a learning culture, develop their people capabilities, and also motivate and engage the team. Especially now, where everyone is adapting to remote work, is why we need to pay extra attention to soft skills. We don't want to forget how to be human when we're working with a screen day in and day out. Here's how learning at work looks like right now. Existing learning platforms are unengaging with ambiguous learning content and unclear return on investment. What if companies could offer an engaging learning experience, equip their teams with a power toolkit, and get insights on the impact of learning? We took our expertise in building digital educational products and created WonderPath, a learning app making mastering soft skills easy and fun. The learner can choose a path that is tailored to their goals, practice with over 80 actual exercises, revisit content, reflect and journal with daily prompts, and track progress to stay motivated. We believe that being learner-centric is our core competitive advantage. Here's a snapshot of how we went about to understand our learners. We did 3 surveys to really understand learning at work and build the most wanted features. We run a 10-week-long newsletter to ensure our content is engaging, and we did over 40 qualitative interviews, which we now continue on a weekly basis to keep the learner voice active. I'm happy to announce that in a matter of a few weeks, we have 300 learners using WonderPath with positive and also encouraging feedback. WonderPath is for individual learners with 3 to 5 years of experience who wants to develop professionally. WonderPath is also for high-growth startups that want to develop their team's capabilities. We have already 3 companies that have expressed interest to do a pilot with us. The business model is a tiered subscription with 2 plans. The starter plan is for individuals and companies to get access to WonderPath. The premium plan is complemented with analytics for companies. There are many players in the market that are aiming to solve the challenge of digital learning. We want to champion the intersection of power skills and practical content. Also, the learning market is not a one-player-takes-all. It is booming with a total addressable market of over 370 billion, and our target segment in EU is 1 billion. We're a team of learners with experience in business development, edtech, product, and also mobile development. We're set to create the most engaging learning space for soft skills mastery. We're raising our first round, so to grow the team, grow the product, and also scale the tech. So if you're an investor in the room and you want to be part of our journey, please reach out. And for the fellow learners, I'm happy to announce that WonderPath is live as a free beta in the App Store and Google Play Store. So download the app and start learning today. And I would like to leave you with a learning meme. Remember that what people see is the end result. What people don't see is the lifelong learning and perseverance behind it. So remember this nice little learning iceberg on your path to reach your goals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daphne.
Thanks.
All right, who wants to?
I'm downloading.
Very nice.
Well, tell us your first thoughts and questions.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to try this because I do think soft skills are like hugely under-skilled area. To me, it always starts with kind of university or even school where people don't really go into people's soft skills before they make choices about what they studied at university and so on. So I just think it's a really huge subject and getting ever more important. So I think my most important question would be to you, what's really your fast route into the market?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And we're also trying to rebrand them as power skills and not soft skills to really transmit their importance. So basically, kind of our soft launch into the market, I think the best way that we could have done it, considering that we really want to focus on practical content, is the way that we're doing it now. So we developed an app with really just the basic features. So there are courses which are delivered via text form, with some kind of nice emojis and illustration to make it a little bit more joyful. And then we also added the daily reflection prompts, which it helps a lot the learners to build self-awareness for these kind of skills, because it is really a kind of our natural tendency. And in order to be able to, in this situation, think of how we can improve, we need to build up self-awareness. So these are the two first kind of easy points for us to enter the market. Easy with some quotation marks, because it took us really a lot of curation and really doing qualitative kind of checks from our side as learners. Is it practical? The next step and what we're focusing for the next months is to really build up a bit the interactivity within the app. So either with just having some quizzes and easy ways to like interact a little bit more, because right now it's kind of a learning inspiration guide to take an exercise and do it kind of either on a piece of paper or with a team. And then it's also like we want to also build the community of learners to test out the peer learning element, which I think could be really massive for soft skills, because we're all strong at some point at some sort of skill, either negotiation or public speaking or really being empathetic. And within a company setting or also outside, we think it's a huge under-leveraged area of how like we can learn from each other.
I actually meant your go-to-market, but that was a really good answer to a question as well.
Thank you.
So I have a question as well around your engagement. So you said you want to be the most engaging kind of learner app, or however you wanted to call it. And I think I've looked at a couple of competitors of yours. They were actually on the slide as well, and every single one of them have a difficulty of retaining daily active users, or retaining, you know, the trainees to come back. And so what is your way to, you know, what is your way to win the market and be the most engaging of everything that's on the market already?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for the question. I think then I can add up a bit more on the go-to-market there. So basically, the way we see engagement, like we defined it as really people coming back to the app, completing questions, completing courses, and then seeing how do they also rate their confidence scores, which is something that we're tracking. I think it's a continuous process. No one can say that they've really cracked the code on engagement. It's something that we really wanted to put attention to at the beginning so we can see how to improve it continuously. And it's a reason why we keep the learner perspective so close, to really find ways to kind of trigger them and help them a little bit more to turn this into a daily habit. On the longer scheme of things, and that goes a little bit with the big picture, how we see Wonderpath growing, and where then stickiness can be easier, is that we start right now with the learning product, one person individually on soft skills. The thing with soft skills is that they really kind of define how we interact with others, and we need this human element somehow. So level 2 is that we bring this interactivity a bit more within the app. So if I know that my peers, my manager, and some mentors are there, that I can kind of document my interactions with them with kind of within Wonderpath, it will kind of naturally bring more people coming back, because it will be also kind of a space like Slack where I go to kind of interact and communicate. So that's where we see it as level 2. And then kind of big vision, level 3, would be to take all of this data, conceptualize, and try and crack performance management in a more realistic and unbiased way. Because within companies right now, how performance management is done is that we have kind of figured out how to deliver our performance review and help people develop their soft skills in a legal way, but not really in a human-centered way. And like, we think the way to go is by building a habit-forming product and paying close attention to the engagement from the beginning, then bringing kind of more people interactions within the product, and kind of then conceptualizing the data and being able to say, this person actually developed X much in communication within the past 6 months based on their own benchmark, and not really on comparing them to a different pool of peers that maybe have different contexts and different strengths.
I'm going to have to cut you off here and end the conversation with Daphne. Thank you for being on stage and for your pitch. Next up is Emily. Emily, if you want to make your way to the stage. And when you're ready, your 5 minutes starts.
Tough 12 months, am I right? I bet you're exhausted. Well, at the very least, I'm exhausted and I need a holiday. So I want to try something. Shut your eyes and imagine a beach. One with rolling sand dunes and reeds blowing in the wind. You roll out of bed and you step into the kitchen and there's a basket of freshly baked bread from the local bakery. And you make yourself a coffee. You go out into the living room and there's a fireplace with the fire from last night. And there are glasses of wine with just a few drops left from the bottle of locally sourced wine you found yesterday. And you go out onto the terrace and you overlook those sand dunes and you smile and you breathe in that fresh sea air. This is perfect. This moment is perfect. This cabin is perfect. But where are you? You're in Germany. Where else? I'm as surprised as you are. Open your eyes. Now, Germany is full of these special places to stay. They're just really hard to find. So hard, in fact, you would be forgiven for giving up after scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So that's why I founded the Staycation Collection. I think Airbnb meets the Lonely Planet meet travel agency. I'm Emily, and I have over 7 years of experience as a travel writer and boutique travel expert, as well as in social entrepreneurship. And I worked for The Guardian, for the World Economic Forum, and for the European Commission. Now, the Staycation Collection is a curated collection of Germany's most beautiful places to stay, and we give our members information about what to do while they're there. Now, I created the Staycation Collection out of a personal frustration. When I moved to Germany, I was so excited and full of fresh energy, ready to explore the country I decided to call home. And I went online, but why was this place so ugly? And where even is Bulks? And what can I do there? So I gave up and I booked flights to Spain. But I had this sense of guilt in my stomach. Not only was I not exploring this beautiful country, but my travel habits weren't sustainable. In fact, most of our travel habits aren't sustainable. It's time we change that. So it's 2020 and along comes COVID. International borders are closed, 14-day quarantines exist, and people are naturally anxious to travel. So now is the time to change people's travel habits. Now is the time to promote domestic travel. And yes, the travel market is a saturated one, but it is a huge one. Last year in Germany alone, tourism generated 43.2 billion for the country's economy, and of 83 million residents, 70.8 million of them took at least one holiday. That's 87% of one country that are holidaying that often. Now, my niche is millennials. People like me, who are probably like you, who value something special. They're looking for experience, they're looking for difference, they're looking for curation, and they value their time. And after launching in May 2020, I have over 50 paying members, one of whom works for Airbnb and one for Booking.com. And I think that says something. But what do you get? Why would you join the Staycation Collection? Well, you get a personal travel expert who connects you and matches you with our places to stay. You get access to our perks and giveaways from member brands, and you get the booking details, the direct booking details of our properties, which means you always get the best deal. And you get to search this curated collection by the things that you actually want from a holiday. Somewhere in the woods, somewhere romantic, somewhere you can reach by train. Plus, you can feel good knowing that you're supporting local economies, because we don't take commission like those big booking platforms do. And you know that your travel habits are much more sustainable. Now you're thinking, a membership platform where people pay €9 a month or $89 a year isn't that much of a profit, especially because retention rates are never at 100%. You're right, well done, which is why we also have a B2B model, working with tourism boards like Brandenburg and other corporate partners like WeShare. And in terms of vision, I want to expand over the borders, moving into the Netherlands and Switzerland, then into the Belgium and the Czech Republic, eventually becoming the EU-wide sustainable travel club. And while I'm not actively seeking investment, I am looking for traction opportunities. And I would like help in terms of organic growth and marketing, any media coverage opportunities, and any strategic B2B partners. And after all that information, I will leave you with a parting thought. Adventure is on your doorstep. You just have to seek it. The Staycation Collection is here to help you find it. Get in touch. Adventure awaits. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. This all makes us want to go on holiday. We've told you this before.
Yeah, fun day for a Wednesday afternoon.
Who would like to
Well done on a super engaging pitch.
Thank you.
So I'll just jump right in. So it's a subscription to access the information and the service of kind of a recommendation, where to go and what to do.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, cool. And so I get I'm just trying to understand. So I'm based in Berlin, so I get access to someone that really knows their stuff around Berlin. And or is it kind of, if I'm from Berlin, I can get access to all of Germany, or how does it work?
Yeah, so exactly. So the situation would be, you know, you're kind of sat in your flat, you're frustrated that you can't go anywhere, you don't know where to go, and you kind of stumble across the website, you know that you want to go somewhere. And there's this beautiful list of properties that we've put a lot of research into finding. And kind of, again, there's this frustration around it. So either you can search kind of through our categories and you can find something individually as a member. And you can go into these properties. There's a lot of long form content on the other side of the paywall to kind of help you daydream, to help you visualize yourself there. And we source a lot of our insider tips from the property owners themselves, because they are the people that know the places better than anybody else. They have their favorite restaurants, their favorite bars, their favorite corners. So they're the ones that provide those tips, and then we have all of that data in a central location, so that if you decide that you want that personal touch from our travel experts, we have access to it, and you would get in touch and say, hey, I would really love to go somewhere 5 hours away from Berlin. I want to travel by train. I want to take my dog. I want to be in a cabin. Please find me somewhere. And we get back to you within 24 hours with 4 to 5 recommendations that fit exactly what you want. And then it's up to you to choose where you want to go.
Cool. And what's the tech element in it?
So at the moment, it's a CMS platform, kind of an aggregated database that we can search. It's presented as a desktop platform that you get to browse, and eventually we will be adding in some machine learning to help automate that decision making. So it will kind of pop up and say, you've been interested in this water tower, maybe you're interested in this lighthouse. They exist, I promise.
Sorry. So thanks first of all for this really, really cool pitch. So I would definitely be a customer of yours. This is exactly, you know, what I just a person. Sorry, I have a friend who is kind of a freelancer and never really does real work, but somehow gets around. And every time I want to travel somewhere, I have her research for me. Like, give me the top 5. I went to Bali. I was like, give me the top 5, you know, hotels that are sustainable, that are cool, that are Instagrammable, and where I need to go, and you know that fits my price range. And it would be great that I don't, you know, if I don't have to ask her, but kind of use your products. I I think you're really hitting a nerve, at least from my personal user perspective. So really, really cool. However, one tricky thing about travel, and I'm in medical travel, so I know this a little bit, but what's always tricky here is some sort of unit economics, or making the numbers work somehow, with where do you acquire your customers, where do they come from, how much do you pay, how many subscribers do you need in order to make this somehow work. Have you thought about this?
Yes, so when I first came up with the idea, I ran the subscriber numbers and thought, I should probably just put this idea in the bin. It doesn't make any sense, especially kind of when you want to keep the ethos of the product and you want to keep that authenticity there. There are a limited number of these beautiful places to stay, and you kind of don't want to overrun a membership platform and then your members can't get access to what they're paying for. So that's kind of been a consideration. And then during the program, I've been working hard on building a B2B side. So especially in Germany, a lot of tourism boards right now are wanting to expand their international markets, especially given the travel situation right now. So they've been very reliant on domestic travel, kind of very German-focused travel for a long time, and now they're looking to open up. So they're kind of trying to work with different platforms to attract those people, and are looking kind of for paid sponsorship deals, either around content or kind of looking for affiliate links. So that's something we're looking to explore with the right partners, and again, kind of then other corporate brands connected to anything to do with holidays, so kind of mobility, lifestyle, to kind of really build out this larger brand around kind of making domestic travel sexy.
We'll leave it at sexy. Great that you got a new customer just of today, and maybe you can introduce the freelancer, and she can finally have some work to do and accompany.
I need some more writers. That would be great. Thanks.
Thanks, Emily. Let's get Gopika down here. Your 5 minutes starts now.
Thanks. Hey everyone, my name is Gopika, and I'm the founder of Happy Charlie. Before I begin this presentation, let me start off with a question. What would you do with $38 billion? It's a big amount, so I'll give you a second to think about that. The simple answer is not burn it. Well, but that's exactly what companies of all shapes and sizes are doing. While 95% of all companies are offering some kinds of perks or benefits, only 4% of their employees believe that these perks and benefits are relevant to them. This happens because companies recognize employees as this standard and one-size-fits-all. They do not see that these are individuals with growing and diverse needs. Even if they want to recognize these employees and provide them with something that matters to them and is applicable to each one of them, they simply can't. It's going to cost them tons of time and plenty of money. That's where we come in to fix the problem. Happy Charlie is an inclusive and flexible people experience platform. We scale with companies and evolve with their people's needs. We do this by following a dual approach. For the people team, for €6 per month per employee, we offer a simple SaaS solution. All the company needs to do is upload the list of employees, set a budget, and start tracking the usage. Every single touch point of the employee experience in one platform. They can do this through integrated pulse checks, which measures the employee happiness with these benefits. They can get a summary of the usage to make sure their money is being put to good use. And lastly, they can get a monthly spend overview. And this is done to keep the finance teams happy. For the people, we have one single platform where they can consume the benefits on the go. We have partnered with best-in-class providers. Think of online therapy, think of carbon offsetting programs and bike subscriptions and grocery delivery. We have something for everyone at every stage in life. But I'm just going to stop talking and show you what it looks like instead. We are located in a really unique space where we're focused both on the employees and the employers and are providing new age benefits. This is a space that has been actively growing in the past year and a half, which makes it not only a hot space to be in, but also invest in. We're doing this now because if you remember $38 billion, that's the size of the market, and that's growing at an exponential speed. This is happening because the concept of a workplace and the concept of a workspace has become one, forcing companies to rethink their employee experience strategy. And lastly, the increasing war for attracting and retaining top talent has pushed us to build this now. So far, in the past 3 months, we have gained 2 pilot companies who are willing to pilot with us. We have partnered with 15 and growing amazing benefits providers that every single one of you would love. And lastly, we're looking to launch in 2021 in the first quarter. Our vision is to transform the employee experience across Europe and beyond by making the system inclusive, flexible, and adaptable to people's needs. If you're a company who wants to learn more about how to change their employee experience, or a provider who wants to partner with us, get in touch with me. We can't wait to be on this journey with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to start? Sophie, another customer right here.
Yeah. I actually have a very quick question, and maybe I missed it. Apologies if I did so, but what's your business model?
Yeah, so our business model is we take €6 per month per employee as usage fees, and then we have a revenue share model with our partners as commissions.
And the 2 first customers you already have in the pipeline are paying customers who would be willing to pay those €6 PMPM?
Yes, so they're willing to pilot with us by paying, yes.
Awesome, that's really cool.
Yeah. And so can you talk a little bit about getting the perks partners integrated in your system? Is it like, how easy is it? Because obviously if you roll it out across in every city, it might be a bit different. Can you talk about that process a little?
So yeah, there are 2 sides to that. So the first question you asked is how are we going to integrate with the perks providers? On a technical side, we are going with SSO, which is a single sign-on process. When we launch in Q1, it's slightly more manual, and we're automating it when we are launching to more partners. On your second question, so when we're sourcing these partners and evaluating these partners, of course, there are multiple partners present in different parts of Europe, but we're looking at partners who have presence across major European cities. So just to throw out a few names that maybe we have or have not partnered with. So SwapFeeds, HelloFresh. So these are companies that have presence across places. But also, secondly, we do not just have vendors that are doing physical services. We also have vendors doing digital services like online therapy and carbon offsetting programs for the teams. So it's a mix of both physical and digital services. And yeah, that's how we're going forward.
Can you talk a little bit about your team, please?
Yes. So basically, it's me. I've had product management experience across not only startups in Berlin and Barcelona, but also consulting in New York. My team consists of 2 other members, so Joy and Dan. So Joy, I initially met her at ESADE, where I did my grad school along with Daphne here. And we worked on a project there, and we're working with a freelance front-end engineer at the same time.
No more questions? Sometimes they come a bit later, but if not, you can connect at a later point. Gopika's very good with the networking part. I will watch for that. Cool, then last pitch of the evening. Thank you. K-Tree is our last one. Thanks for your patience.
Hello.
Stage is yours.
So I imagine that most of you are either a landlord or a tenant, or maybe even both. Like most capital cities, renting is a significant part of the way we live. 85% of the population in Berlin rents. And I want you to think about the last time you rented an apartment. You share proof of identity, financials, rental history, by filling out applications and sharing copies of physical documents containing sensitive information to people you've never even met. Navigating the rental process is excruciating for both tenants and property managers, not to mention the huge data privacy time bomb. Domi is a digital passport for the rental market. We use a new technology called self-sovereign identity that uses verifiable digital credentials to replace the need for paperwork, creating a unified experience to renting that works anywhere you choose to live. Domi enables property managers and tenants to easily streamline that application and background check process, but it doesn't end at the verification stage. Domi is a medium of communication that provides a clear history of that customer-business relationship from the beginning to the end. And just like a verifiable rental history is invaluable to tenants, property managers also need a clear and transparent record that is easy to verify by external third parties easy to verify by external third parties to support them with bank and legal disputes, as well as with their tax and audit obligations. Domi ensures that all data that is handled is done with user consent. And that is a huge win for GDPR compliance, particularly now when data protection is a huge liability for the industry. So what is self-sovereign identity? SSI is the basis of Europe's next generation of new digital identity, is the basis of Europe's next generation of digital identity technology. So the same way that you use your driver's license or your passport to use as a physical proof of your identity, SSI uses the same principles to provide a digital proof, one that you control. You decide what information you share, to whom, and when. And blockchain is used as a mechanism to anchor that digital identity. Domi is tapping into this ecosystem. Our business model is simple. We operate where transactions between landlords and tenants already exist, online marketplaces and property management companies. To access your data and use your Domi passport will always be free. It is your data after all. But where we earn our revenue is via success fee for each contract signed in an online marketplace, and for property management companies, we provide an API plug-in to their existing property management software, which is paid on a monthly subscription basis. All these value propositions add up to something even more important. What we're effectively building is the basic infrastructure for any contract-based history. Domi is your record of trust. And while the rental market right now is crying out for digitalization, data protection, and transparency, our product is creating an archetype that will change the way that customers and business relate across a range of industries. This record of trust can be easily applied to insurance, telecommunications, banking, and more. Domi has value in the hands of every single person that rents. And we are looking to launch Domi in Germany at the end of 2021, and then over the next 18 months expand across Europe and North America before going global. 2020 has been a big year for us. We have built our team, we've pushed forward with our product development and market education, and we've also secured €165,000 in funding under 2 EU Horizon 2020 grants with the potential for another further 90,000. Next year will be even bigger with the launch of our MVP in Q2, leading up to our full product launch at the end of the year. The way we rent is changing with a push for digitalization and a demand for a better rental market. And with bringing digital identity to the real estate industry, Domi will solve this problem, and we have the team, resources, and expertise to make this happen. So my 2 asks is for investors. We will be looking to raise mid-next year, so if this is an opportunity that is of interest, email me. And for everyone else, if you believe that renting can be done better, you can easily help us get there by sharing your experience. For each person that answers our survey, we'll be donating €1 to charity. And so I'd like you to take a photo of this slide, answer the survey, and then share it with 2 friends. It's that easy. And that's Domi, your digital passport to the rental market.
You're the last of the night, so I'll let you go on a little longer. Sophie, Bettine are still with us.
Just about.
Some feedback, some questions from your side.
So I can start. I have a question.
Sure.
Who is your primary customer? Is that the tenant or is it the landlord?
Well, we consider ourselves a B2B2C sort of business. So our primary customer at the moment, what they're focusing on is businesses, so property management companies and housing companies. Because, I mean, we see them as, I guess, the key initiator for this all kicking off, but we aren't forgetting the customer in mind. And so that's why we're sort of launching the survey with both sides. The reason why businesses, I would say, are the primary customer is they are a main source of revenue as well. So the idea is that to use Domi in your Domi passport, you get these credentials. Maybe initially you might pay to actually get the credentials. You don't need to pay to actually use that data. So when you apply for, an apartment here in Berlin and go to all these viewings, you don't need to pay to actually use that passport. That itself is free. But where the, I guess, main source of revenue comes in is the property management companies, actually helping them streamline that whole tenant verification stage instead of having to manually verify everyone's paperwork, which they currently have to do, and actually helping them manage kind of that tenant business relationship. So that's kind of why they're our focus customer.
Why are you launching in Germany? Just thinking about the place where I've lived, it seems not like the best market.
Yeah, no, this was actually something we considered quite deeply because early on we also were in San Francisco and so we had many opportunities sort of with looking at other partners there. What we came down to is that because renting is such a big part of German culture, it's such a big renting population here, and so that was one big factor. But the second big reason was because of the strong sort of what's happening around GDPR and data protection, particularly in Germany. It's something, and what I showed up on the slide, one of the biggest, well, the biggest fine ever issued since the introduction of GDPR was to a German property management company. I won't mention the name, but it's one of the largest property management companies or housing companies in Berlin. And so that's actually one of the largest fines in Europe. So that's one of the big reasons. There is actually this big push and demand here in Europe. So from that standpoint, we thought it made sense.
Great. Short question? I'll give you 30 seconds if you have a quick question. No? No? Okay, well, thank you, Katri. Thank you so much to Sophie and Bettine for sharing your expertise. And telling us a little bit more of how, why, and when to invest. So thank you both. You've been role models in your respective fields, so goodbye. Finally, from my side, the last goodbye of the evening. I feel like I kept saying it, but thank you both again. To all the mentees, congratulations. This might be the end of the program, but just the beginning of your career and as founder. So we're really proud and to have you here. And it's been an honor for me to watch you grow. And I've told you this multiple times, so I'm not gonna get emotional. But for our own call to action, we'll be doing a 3rd edition of Stealth Mode next year. So please look out if you're interested, if you want to be in the footsteps of the mentees and be on stage and create the next big project. So thank you, good night, and go found a company.